उत्तर पूर्व की पर्वतीय संवेदनाएं, प्रकृति की कोमलता और लोक जीवन की सादगी, दक्षिण की गहराई, परंपरा की गरिमा और संस्कृति की अद्भुत समृद्धि। जब ये दोनों दिशाएं शब्दों में ढलती है तो कविता केवल कविता नहीं रहती, बल्कि वो पूरे भारत की आत्मा बन जाती है। इसी भावना के साथ में आइए आज के दिन की शुरुआत करते हैं, शुभारंभ करते हैं आज के पहले सत्र की, उत्तर पूर्व एवं दक्षिणी काव्य सम्मेलन, जहां भाषाएं बेशक अलग हो सकती हैं लेकिन सबकी भावना एक है। इस सत्र की शुरुआत कर रहे हैं और इस सत्र की अध्यक्षता कर रही हैं, ज़ोरदार तालियों से हम स्वागत कर रहे हैं, हमारे बीच उपस्थित हैं श्रीमती सुकृता पॉल कुमार जी। आपका बहुत बहुत स्वागत, अभिनंदन। आपसे अनुरोध करेंगे कृपया मंच पर आकर अपना स्थान ग्रहण करें। धन्यवाद। और अब मैं बारी बारी सभी कवियों को यहाँ आमंत्रित करूँगी। हम एक एक कर आएंगे, अब कविता पाठ करेंगे और समय का थोड़ा सा ध्यान रखेंगे, 12 से 13 मिनट का समय, ठीक है। सबसे पहले हम बुला रहे हैं जोरदार तालियों से हम स्वागत करेंगे श्री पूर्णा भट्टाचार्य जी का। आप असमिया साहित्य के प्रतिष्ठित कवि और आलोचक हैं। साथ ही आपकी कविताओं का हिंदी, अंग्रेज़ी, गुजराती, बांग्ला और कई अन्य भारतीय भाषाओं में अनुवाद किया जा चुका है, जिससे आपकी रचनाओं के पाठक क्षेत्रीय सीमाओं के पार तक पहुंच गए हैं। जोरदार तालियों से हम आपका स्वागत कर रहे हैं सर, श्री पूर्णा भट्टाचार्य जी।
Good morning. I am come from Assam. At first, I shall read my Assamese poems, and then after, immediately, I shall try to translate in English to you. At first, I have done my first Assamese poem. Bodhisattva. আজি বুদ্ধৰ দেশলৈ যাম, কেনেকৈ যাম, খোজকাঢ়িয়েই যাম কিজানি, কথা নকওঁ, কথা শুনিম, কথা পাতিলে দেখোন নিজেও ক'বলগীয়া হয় কথা। হিংসাৰ কথা বহুদিন সুধিলোঁ, লগ পালে আজি অহিংসাৰ কথা সুধিম, বুজিম বুদ্ধৰ চকুৰ ভাষা। গছৰ কথা সুধিম, সুধিম বুদ্ধই বৃক্ষক ভাল পাইছিল কিমান। পানীৰ কথা সুধিম, সুধিম বুদ্ধই পানীৰ কথা সুধিম, বোধিবৃক্ষক ভাল পাবলৈ জলধাৰাই ক'ৰ পৰা বোৱাই আনে পানী। আকাশতো পানী, মহাকাশতো পানী। প্ৰেমৰ কথা সুধিম, প্ৰেমে কেনেকৈ হৃদয়ত ধৰি ৰাখিব পাৰে যশোধৰা গোলাপ। পত্নী বুলি ক'বলৈ বুদ্ধৰ ওচৰত মোৰ সাহসেই নাথাকিব। কায়াৰ কথা নুসুধো, বুদ্ধই যদি কয় ছায়াহে সঁচা তেতিয়া। অসীম অনন্তৰ কথা সুধিম, কেনেকৈ অনন্ত আকাশত সাৰে আছে পূৰ্ণিমাৰ জোন। যুদ্ধৰ কথা কৈ বুদ্ধৰ সপোনৰ টোপনি নাভাঙো, জন্মৰ কথা কৈও বুদ্ধক মনত পেলাই নিদিও মৃত্যুময় শৰীৰৰ ৰসায়ন। এতিয়া বুদ্ধৰ দেশত কিজানি মই ভবা কথাবোৰ একোৱেই নাই। বুদ্ধৰ দেশৰ পৰা উভতি অহালৈ আমাৰ মানুহবোৰক বুজাবা সময়, বুজাবা মাটিতে উপজি তেওঁ শিল হৈছিল আৰু সময়ত হৈ পৰিছিল বোধিসত্ত্ব। I think it will be better in the same time immediately read the translated poem Bodhisattva. Bodhisattva, the enlightened. Today I shall travel to the land of Buddha. By what means? Perhaps I shall walk. I shall not converse, but be all ears. For conversation necessitated dialogues from my end too. For long I have questioned about violence. Today, however, if I happen to meet, I shall discuss non-violence, shall comprehend the language in the Buddha's eyes, shall question about the trees. I shall ask how much Buddha loved them, shall ask about water, the manifest its love for the Bodhibriksha, where from the stream of water flows, water in the sky, water in the cosmos. Shall explore about love. How could love hold in the heart Jasodhara a rose? To pronounce as wife before Buddha, I shall fail with my courage. Shall abstain from inquiring about the mundane body. For if the Buddha proclaims to obscure is the ultimate reality, then shall ask about the endless, the infinite. How is the full moon wakeful in the unbounded sky? Just not to awaken the Buddha from his dreamful slumber, I shall abstain from talking about welfare, nor shall I discuss birth so as not to remind the chemistry of the mortal body. Maybe presently in the Buddha's province, my complementation are all extinct. Till I return from the land of the Buddha, let my people appreciate time. Let them comprehend that being born on this earth, he turned into a rock, and in course of time, transformed into the enlightened, the Bodhisattva. Secondly, I again want to read Mayasami's poem, Harapator Golpa. Harapator dukh na থাকে, থাকে পূর্ণতার মৃত্তিকার গল্প। তাত ধূলি থাকে, তাত নিয়র থাকে। হরাপাতত ৰাতিপুৱা থাকে, হৰাপাতত দুপৰীয়া থাকে, হৰাপাতত ধোঁৱা বৰণীয়া সন্ধিয়া থাকে। জোনাক থাকে শুক্লপক্ষৰ, আউসী থাকে কৃষ্ণপক্ষৰ। সপোনে সপোন দেখে, সপোন ওলমি থাকে, সপোন সৰে হৰাপাতৰ দৰে। হৰাপাতত কাহিনীবোৰ কেতিয়াবা পূবলৈ যায়, কেতিয়াবা পশ্চিম আৰু কেতিয়াবা কলৈকো নাযায়। হৰাপাতত এখন দুৱাৰ থাকে, ভিতৰৰ পৰা সেউজীয়া সোমাই অহা। হৰাপাতত আৰু এখন দুৱাৰ থাকে, এমুঠি শূন্যতা ওলাই অহা। হৰাপাতত সকলো থাকিও যেন একোকে নাথাকে, একো নথকা মানেই আচলতে সকলো থকা। হৰাপাত প্ৰকৃতি হৃদয়ৰ এক বিস্তীৰ্ণ শোভাযাত্ৰা। হৰাপাতে মোক সোধে, মোক লৈ তুমি সুখীনে? I shall now read the English poem of Harapator Golpa. The tale of the fallen leaf. The fallen leaf carries no sorrow. It carries a earthy tale of fulfillment. There is dust, there is dew. Fallen leaves hold in them the tender mornings and the quiet noons. Also a dusk wrapped in smoky veil, drenched in silver in the waxing and in darkness as it waned. Dreams cradle their own dreams, dreams that dangle silently. Dreams slip away just like the fallen leaves. tales of the fallen leaves, sometime drift to the way east, sometime to the west, and sometimes they simply remain. The fallen leaf keeps a door open for the green to creep in. It holds yet another door for the fistful of emptiness to escape. The fallen leaf has it all, yet empty-handed. For one who possesses nothing holds an abundance of everything. For one who possesses nothing holds an abundance of everything. Fallen leaves are an unending procession, nature's heart in full display. A fallen leaf turns to me and asks, am I enough to keep you happy? My third poem in Assamese I shall read, Ramonia Godda. চৰাইবোৰে নিৰ্জনতাত গা ধুই আছে, নৈৰ চকুত হাৰে আছে প্ৰাচীন শীতলতা। চৰাইবোৰ অলপ পাছতে পানীত ডুব যাব আৰু তুলি আনিব শুভ্ৰতাৰ গোলাপ। সাধু কথা কৈ থাকোঁতে আইতাৰ টোপনি আহিব খুজিছিল। টোপনি খেদি আইতাৰ কথন, আকাশখন এদিন পানীত আছিল। পাতালৰ পৰা খোচনি বুঢ়ীৰ এখোচত আকাশখন আকাশ পালে চকুত লৈ অনন্ত সুখ। পৰম গোপনীয়তাত চৰাইবোৰৰ দেউকা তিতিছিল আৰু পানীৰ ৰমণীয় গদ্যত সোণালী হৈছিল প্ৰেম। ৰৈ থকা মানেই হেনো নদীৰ মৃত্যু আৰু গৈ থাকে বাবেই নদী স্ৰোতস্বিনী। সকলো দৃষ্টিৰ অৱগাহন লয়ত নৈৰ শেষৰ অংকটোৰ তুমি সমাধান জানানে বসুন্ধৰা? দূৰৰ সাগৰখনলৈ চাই আছোঁ, সাগৰীয় বতাহো ডুব গৈছে নীৰৱতাত। নাটখনৰ পাণ্ডুলিপি এতিয়াও লিখা হোৱা নাই। মই মোৰ আকাশত, আকাশত থুপি থুপি তৰাৰ গোন্ধ। Now I shall read the English translation. A fascinating tale. In quietness, the birds are taking a dip. Awake in the eyes of the river, it is a foregone frigidity. In a while, the birds will plunge into the water and shall return with a rose of sanctity. While narrating the tale, my granny was on the verge of falling into slumber. Seizing the drowsiness away, she proclaimed, At one time, the sky was in water. From the underworld with the noise, from the saucer's broom, the sky reached the ether, eyes filled with infinite ecstasy. In supreme seclusion, the bird's wings moistened, and in the water fascinating tale, love transformed into eternity. For a river, dormancy implies death. For a river, dormancy implies death, and perennial flow into infinite vivacity. For all creation, the immersion is in inhalation. Vasundhara, are you privy to the solution of the river's terminating texts? Beholding the distant sea, I espy the sea waves too, descending into quietude. The draft of the drama is not begun yet. I endure in my heavens. In the sky is the fragrance of the constellations. I hope I have already read 3 poems in Assamese. Taking the view of time, I shall now not read another Assamese poem in this moment. I shall try, if chairperson admits me, time permits me, I shall try to read the English. Is it a long poem? No, it is a small poem. Only English. Assamese is not necessary, no? It's just English, okay. Read the verse leisurely. prolonged than the footstep of darkness, forbid a sleep, even in comma or full stop, for in them lie the essence of verses of lives too. Read the verse, read it at daybreak, with the soft rays of the sun, equip the mind, align the fingers that could have crippled in the chill of night. Summon all who desire to read the verse. Let them congregate for the parade of dreams. For more the participation, more is the sheep in response. Read the verse, read leisurely, abstain racing straightway towards sundown, for halfway lies the noontime sky. On reaching the lucas of the midday sun, shout out loud, for the sun fears none, for the sun fears none, but the roar of the rhyme. At solar midday, with the sun overhead, read the verse, if need be, read in haste. Okay, madam? Thank you very much. Thank you, madam.
थैंक यू सो मच सर। अब मैं बुलाना चाहूँगी श्री ओपी सुरेश जी को। आप मलयालम के प्रतिष्ठित कवि, गीतकार और लेखक हैं। आपको 2020 के केरल साहित्य अकादमी पुरस्कार सहित कई अन्य प्रतिष्ठित सम्मानों से सम्मानित किया जा चुका है। जोरदार तालियों से हम स्वागत कर रहे हैं श्री ओपी सुरेश जी का।
Good morning. Please excuse me, I'm not fluent in Hindi. Actually, in this gathering of many voices, I'm reminded that language can be both a bridge and a barrier. Language should unite us, yet too often it becomes a wall, dividing people by nation, caste, class, region, and history, sometimes through words that wound and sometimes through silence that hurt even more. The poem I'm about to read reflects on this question of language, identity, memory, and the pain of silenced voices, which searching for another language, the language of broken hearts. The downtrodden, grief, and perhaps healing. I believe poetry helps us imagine such a language. Thank you. A single language. I know now that language learning is not as difficult as you make it out to be. I have been convinced of it every day, everywhere, in every context. I'm extremely grateful that I have been trained to be someone fluent in all languages: mother tongue, world tongue, local tongue, nation tongue, caste tongue, clan tongue, acid tongue, alkaline tongue. No more am I scared of borders between nations, of boundaries between languages. I talk to anyone, anywhere, about anything, even though those who listen, most of them at least forget their own language. My language was silenced when the spear pierced the womb and pulled out a child half-cooked like a string of letters, an alphabet. My language was extinguished in vacant fields laid to waste by poison-spouting masculine words. I do not know any language that is not the lamentation of those whose hearts have been broken. I am now engaged in the work of creating a script for that language. So take care of your own hearts from being broken. Please listen the Malayalam version of this language, only for hear my mother tongue Malayalam. ഒറ്റ ഭാഷ. നിങ്ങൾ പറയും പോലെ ഭാഷ പഠിക്കൽ അത്ര കഠിനമല്ലെന്ന് ഇപ്പോൾ എനിക്കറിയാം. ഓരോ ദിവസവും എല്ലാ സ്ഥലത്തും ഏതു സന്ദർഭത്തിലും എനിക്കത് ബോധ്യമായിട്ടുണ്ട്. മാതൃഭാഷയോ ലോകഭാഷയോ ദേശഭാഷയോ രാഷ്ട്രഭാഷയോ ജൈവഭാഷയോ ജാതിഭാഷയോ ഗോത്രഭാഷയോ മൃതഭാഷയോ അമ്ലഭാഷയോ ക്ഷാരഭാഷയോ ഏതും വഴങ്ങുന്ന ഒരാളായി എന്നെ പരിശീലിപ്പിച്ചെടുത്തതിന് തീർത്താൽ തീരാത്ത നന്ദിയുണ്ട്. ഇപ്പോഴെനിക്ക് രാജ്യാതിർത്തികൾ പേടിയില്ല, ഭാഷാതിർത്തികളിൽ ഭയമില്ല. ആരോടും എവിടെ വെച്ചും ഏത് കാര്യവും സംസാരിക്കും. കേൾക്കുന്നവർ ഏറെയും അവരുടെ ഭാഷയപ്പോൾ മറന്നുപോകുമെങ്കിലും പള്ള തുളച്ച് പാതിവെന്ത കുഞ്ഞിനെ അക്ഷരമാല കണക്ക് ശൂലത്തിൽ കോർത്തെടുക്കുമ്പോൾ നിലച്ചുപോയതാണ് എൻ്റെ ഭാഷ. വിഷം ചീറ്റിയ പുല്ലിംഗങ്ങൾ അലങ്കോലമാക്കിയ വിളനിലങ്ങളിൽ കെട്ടുപോയതാണ് എൻ്റെ ഭാഷ. ചങ്ക് തകർന്ന് തരിപ്പണമായവരുടെ ഉള്ളു കലങ്ങിയ നിലവിളിയല്ലാതെ മറ്റൊരു ഭാഷയും ഉള്ളു കലങ്ങിയ നിലവിളിയല്ലാതെ മറ്റൊരു ഭാഷയും എനിക്കറിയില്ല. അതിന് ലിപിയുണ്ടാക്കുന്ന പണിയിലാണ് ഞാൻ. നിങ്ങളുടെ ഹൃദയങ്ങളെ മുറിയാതെ കാത്തുകൊള്ളുക. That is the Malayalam version. I can read one or two poems only in English. Name is Benjamin Netanyahu. The next poem. Name of the poem is Benjamin Netanyahu. Nowadays, invariably I dream only of Benjamin Netanyahu. Neither Martin Luther King, nor Abraham Lincoln, nor Ho Chi Minh, nor Castro, nor Mandela. For that matter, I haven't even seen Nehru in my sleep. I could have brushed it aside, saying, after all, it's only a dream. But even if I sleep or not, these days, Netanyahu is always with me. After every dream, I leak and drip out of myself little by little. Seeing him again and again, it can be said that I have almost ceased to be. What now stands before you is the droplet of myself that remains. In appearance, his face more tranquil than Gandhi's, more serene than the Buddha, his eyes dripping compassion. But out of his mouth, missiles would hurl in perpetual volley. Fire and smoke would billow to suffocate. Losing control in the screams, the dream would shudder and sway. The muzzle of the gun that shot at the stomachs, shriveled with hunger, entwines within my throat. The tender smiles that wrenchingly writhe, splinters the earth to shreds. I flounder to fathomless depths. I hung onto the frozen bodies. Unable to sleep or wake, I burn as a Mars pair. I once had roamed around singing, it was dreams that made this world. Only the helpless silence of living, fading, heckles my dreams now. Only a fearful dissolution haunts my memory. I do not need my dreams anymore. Please, at least save these children from these ruthless hunters. Please, doctor. And the one who crouched to prescribe the medicines and instructed to have them at stipulated times was Netanyahu. As I rushed outside in fear, the one barricading my way was Netanyahu. See, there is in the streets, marches on, the huge rally of many Netanyahus led by Netanyahu. Over the wounded helplessness that screamed, "Oh God," in anguished lament, the sky towered massive as a mighty Benjamin Netanyahu. Thank you. One more. It's a very small poem. The Malayalam, very little poem. Matram. അവർ ചോദിക്കുന്നു മിണ്ടാത്തതെന്ത് എന്ന്. എൻ്റെ മാത്രം ശബ്ദം കൊതിച്ച് നീ കാത്തിരിക്കുമ്പോൾ ഞാനതെങ്ങനെ അവരെ കേൾപ്പിക്കും? നിനക്ക് മാത്രം അറിയുന്ന ഭാഷയുടെ പുസ്തകമാണ് ഞാൻ. നീ തുറക്കുമ്പോൾ മാത്രം അർത്ഥം തെളിയുന്ന പുസ്തകം. നിനക്കു മാത്രം അറിയുന്ന ഭാഷയുടെ ഉദ്യാനമാണ് ഞാൻ. നീ തുറക്കുമ്പോൾ മാത്രം അർത്ഥം തെളിയുന്ന പുസ്തകം. Only. They ask, why I am silent? But when you wait, longing only for my voice, how will I ever offer it to them? They ask, why I am silent. But when you wait longing only for my voice, how will I ever offer it to them? I am the garden where only your language blooms, a book whose meanings unfold only when you stroke it open. Thank you very much.
थैंक यू सो मच सर. अब मैं बुलाना चाहूँगी श्री रवि सुब्रमण्यन जी को. आपका स्वागत है सर. आप एक प्रतिष्ठित कवि, लेखक और वृत्तचित्र निर्देशक हैं. साथ ही आप अपनी साहित्यिक कृतियों के लिए केंद्र और राज्य सरकार के पुरस्कारों सहित कई सम्मानों से विभूषित हैं. जोरदार तालियों से हम आपका स्वागत कर रहे हैं.
Good morning, everyone. I read little poems. Word. While a flower's presence reveals fragrance, a tree's movements, the wind, the bird's song, music, a tail's movement, fondness. Words. What can my words do? Tell me, dear. The musical version in Tamil. மலரின் இருப்பு மனத்தை சொல்லுகையில் மரத்தின் அசைவு காற்றை சொல்லுகையில் பறவையின் பாடல் இசையை சொல்லுகையில் வாலின் அசைவு வாஞ்சையை சொல்லுகையில் சொல்லாலாவதன்னயன் சொல்லாலாவதன்ன நீ சொல்லமுதே சொல்லமுதே சொல்லமுதே. The next one. FIR, the first information report. He died. That's all I can say. You. Oh no, perhaps he killed himself. Fill in the blanks with anything you desire, and that will make what you will of the case of death. The first information report, written initially in blue, changes into grey when history records it. The next one, the eternal scarce. Not inclined to finish schooling, the 13-year-old Parandaman joined a mechanical shop to work. Not listening to his master, spanner was thrown at him in anger. In return, got he 3 stitches on his forehead. Then, with a scar on his forehead, Parandaman became owner of the shop. Now, Thomas has stitches on his chin. And the next one, reality. What is real? I do not know. At certain age, certain time, whatever seemed real tuned out to be no longer real, losing its color and breaking into pieces beyond repair. Sometimes I thought I should cry aloud, draining my throat, asking, where is the reality? Searching that reality, I spent my whole life. Now I feel it's better to believe something as real and prolong my life with that belief. The next one, a school. Transforming a bedroom into a school, turning pillows into boy and girls students. The little child begins teaching. She knew she needed a wooden scale for this game. She gestures, whoosh. She taps a boy's head with her scale. She says, oh God, go. Sense of the standing boy who says recess. Sound of mother's footsteps. A school disappears. The teacher pretends a tired sleeping posture. The teacher's mother, in pretense, fondles the child's hair. The next one, the rain pours down, smelling with sweet incense. Caught up thorns, dripping raindrops, the butterfly sheds the colors of memory, shaking themselves of water, the crows, scared of the rains, going into the shelter, the goats flying across with thudding noise, the bats, the same cold weather, the same breezy day, but only you are present here. Oh, my sweetheart, who taught me to fall in love with all sorts of things, separated from the sky, the rain gives words of comfort now. Chup, chup, tup, tup. Does the rain says something to you too as of now? The musical version. வாசம் ததும்ப விட்டு பெய்து மழை முள்ளில் முள்ளில் சிக்கிய வண்ணத்து பூச்சி சடசடத்து உதிர்க்கிறது ஞாபக வர்ணங்களை உடம்புலுக்கி நீருதரும் காகங்கள் வெளுக்கென்று பறக்கின்ற வௌவால் மழைக்கு ஒதுங்கிய வெள்ளாடுகள் அதே குளிர் அதே காற்று நீதான் நீதான் இல்லை ஏதேதோ ஏதேதோ நேசிக்க கற்றுத்தந்த நேசிகையே இதோ வானத்தை பிரிந்த மழை வந்து சொல்லுது ஆறுதல் சப் சப்பென்ன டப் டப்பென்ன சப் சப்பென்ன டப் டப்பென்ன உனக்கிந்த மழை அங்கேதும் சொல்லுதா இந்நேரம் வாசம் ததும்ப விட்டு பெய்யுது மழை. தேங்க்யூ.
थैंक यू सो मच सर. अब मैं बुलाना चाहूँगी श्री LSR प्रसाद जी को. आप एक कार्डियोथोरैकिक और वेस्कुलर सर्जन के साथ साथ 220 पुस्तकों के रचयिता, कवि, कार्टूनिस्ट, चित्रकार, आलोचक और संपादक भी हैं. आपको 2017 में TS एलियट पुरस्कार तथा पोएट लॉरियट पुरस्कार दिल्ली से सम्मानित किया जा चुका है. सर, बहुत बहुत स्वागत है आपका.
శుభోదయ్, గుడ్ మార్నింగ్. ఇది యుద్ధము శాంతి గురించి. వార్ ఎట్ ద రేట్ ఆఫ్ పీస్. వృద్ధులు యుద్ధం ప్రకటిస్తారు, యువకులు యుద్ధం చేసి మరణిస్తారు. ఓల్డ్ మెన్ డిక్లేర్ వార్, బట్ ఇట్ ఈస్ ద యూత్ దట్ మస్ట్ ఫైట్ అండ్ డై. ఒక ప్రాచీన ఆలివ్ వనంలో పావురం అంటున్నది, నాకు ఎంతో సంతృప్తిగా ఉంటుంది ఈ ఆలివ్ శాఖల్ని ముక్కున కరచుకుని విశ్వమంతా స్వేచ్ఛగా అందరికన్నా ముందుండి ఎగురుతున్నప్పుడు ఆ పక్షులన్నీ దిగువకు దిగుతున్నప్పుడు కనిపించాయి శిథిలాలు, మస్టర్డ్ గ్యాస్ పొలాలు తీయని పసుపు పచ్చని ఛాయలతో భీకరంగా. మాకెక్కడా శాంతి వృక్షం కనిపించలేదు. ఓ శాంతి, ఎక్కడున్నావు నీవు అని గొంతెత్తి అరిచిన ఆమె ఎక్కడుందో జోస్యం చెప్పేవాళ్ళు లేరు, ఆఖరి రోజుల సందేశమూ లేదు. అన్నీ పాత వాతావరణ రణ ప్రకటనలు, నటనలు, దుఃఖవాగులు, సమాధులు, వెలివేయబడిన వాళ్ళని ఉరితీసిన చిహ్నాలు మాత్రం బోలెడన్ని. శాంతి వృక్షం కానీ, పూలు కానీ, ఫలాలు కానీ, కోయల కానీ మచ్చుకైనా కానరాలేదు. అక్కడకు నన్ను రమ్మని ఆజ్ఞ వచ్చింది, అందుకే నేను వెళ్ళాను. నా ముక్కున లేత ఆలివ్ శాఖను నోట కరుచుకుని అన్నది ఆ పావురం. గెద్దలు చూస్తున్నాయి విహంగ వీక్షణాలతో, పావురాలు ఎగురుతున్న గ్యాస్ నిధుల రాతి నీవున మైదానాలను తమదైన వ్యాపార దుర్కులతో. అక్కడ శాశ్వత వర్ణం ఇంధనం, ధనం మాత్రమే. వాళ్ళు విందుకు పిలిచారు యుద్ధ బేహార డేగలను. వాళ్ళు రుజువు చేయదలుచుకున్నారు పావురానిదే తప్పని. వాళ్ళ అమ్ముల పొదల నిండా ఖండాంతర క్షిపణుల లెక్కలున్నాయి, సరిహద్దుల్ని తిరగరాయడానికి, పావురాల రెక్కల్ని నరికివేయడానికి. హంతక పక్షులు ఆవాహన చేశాయి మృత్యుదేవతను. అతడు వస్తుంటే ప్రజల స్వప్న లోకాల రాచమార్గానికి ఇరువైపులా పిల్లల్ని, చిన్న పిల్లల్ని, పిట్టల్ని నిలబెట్టారు కపాలమాలను ధరింపజేసి. జబ్బుపడిన దేశాల దారిని నల్లు రంగుతో గీసి తమను తాను స్వర్ణ రజత వర్ణాలలో ప్రదర్శించుకున్నారు. రాబందుల రెక్కల చప్పుడుతో కూడిన నాట్య ప్రదర్శన, ఘన గబ్బిలాల గగన విన్యాసాలు గందరగోళ గంభీరంగా మెరిశాయి. యుద్ధం మారిందా శాంతిగా? ఈ శిఖరాగ చర్చల్లో విందుల్లో ఎప్పుడైనా లేదు. ఎందుకు శాంతి వృక్షపు శాఖలు గాయపడిన తమ శిరస్సును వంచి కన్నీరు కారుస్తాయి ఈ మసిమబ్బులు కమ్మిన ఆకాశంలో? అంతిమ దినం రానే వచ్చింది. డేగలన్నీ డ్రోన్లుగా డే అండ్ నైట్ యుద్ధం మొదలయ్యింది. వాళ్ళు మూసివేశారు జలసంధుల్ని, పూజా స్థలాల్ని. వాళ్ళు నిషేధించారు స్థానిక వక్తల్ని, శాంతి ప్రవక్తల్ని. సత్యం, సమత, సౌభ్రాతృత్వం అన్న పదాల్ని తొలగించారు డిక్షనరీల్లోంచి. భూగర్భ యుద్ధ మాళికలలో కూర్చుని మరణ వార్తలు చదువుతున్నారు, వింటున్నారు ఈ వృషభ మానవులు. వాళ్లకు తెలుసు శాంతి కాలాలన్నీ యుద్ధపు సమాధుల్లోకే వెళతాయని. యుద్ధపు కత్తి అంచుపై చీకటి సొరంగంలో నడుస్తూ ప్రేమ వృక్షం గాయపడగా మానవత్వం నేడు తనను తాను ముక్కలుగా తెంచుతున్నది. పెను దుఃఖంతో, ఆశతో ఎదురు చూస్తున్నది సొరంగపు చివరన శాంతి వృక్షం నీడలో వెలుగురేడు ఉంటాడని, అతడు తన దయా ప్రేమ హస్తాలతో అందరినీ రక్షిస్తాడని. ఓం సర్వే భవంతు సుఖినః, సర్వే సంతు నిరామయా, సర్వే భద్రాణి పశ్యంతు మా కశ్చిత్ దుఃఖ భాగ్ భవేత్. అసతో మా సద్గమయ, తమసో మా జ్యోతిర్గమయ, మృత్యోర్మా అమృతంగమయ. ఓం శాంతి శాంతి శాంతి. ఈ ఉదది మేకల, ఈ అగ్నిగర్భ, ఈ అభ్రిజి వరస్త్ర, ఈ గిరికర్ణిక, ఈ నగాధారను, ఈ మబ్బు పువ్వుల వెళ్ళి, ఈ నీటి కుప్ప శైల శిబరము నేల మొలత్రాడు ప్రాణభాస్వంతమై, ఈ సిరితోడు నెచ్చెలి క్రోడకాంతను అలంకరించ సహస్ర ఉత్కల బాహుఖడ్గాలు ఋషికొల్యలై, ఏరులై, నదులై, నిత్య స్రోతస్వినులై ప్రవహించు ఈ మువ్వనెల్ల దేశంబు, ఈ శాంతి కపోతంబు, ఈ ప్రేమ సందాతన భరతమాత. ఇది తెలుగు వెర్షన్ సార్. ఇప్పుడు దీని ఇంగ్లీష్ వెర్షన్. ఓల్డ్ మెన్ డిక్లేర్ వార్, but it is the youth that must fight and die. There lives a dove in an elementary olive cove. She says, I am content when I carry these olive branches and fly vanguard to test the reality of mustard gas fields led by their sweet yellow tents. But we find no peace tree in those frozen lands. We cried aloud, where art thou, O peace? There is no more any symbol of prophecy or sigil of end of the days, except the age-old weather forecasts and old hangings of the outcasts, no traces of the elusive tree of peace or blackbird coil's song in melancholy. Then and there I was summoned, and I took the olive bough there, flying on peasant wings of peace, said the dove in tearful sobs. The eagles were looking in bird's eye view at the doves in their practical business angle, where the only permanent color is money. They invited all the dons and dogs of war in perpetual animation to prove that doves are wrong. They carry intercontinental ballistic missiles in their quivers to rewrite the borders of all the birds of prey. Then they prayed to death and invited him to the Strait of Harmony, and they made the pheasant birds to line up on both sides of wearing the skull garlands. They painted the roads of sick nations in black, while coloring their highways in gold and silver. With the eagle-winged flutters and bat stunning air show of power display, Is there any chance of war transforming into peace in the summit banquets? Why does the peace tree bow hang heavy their mutilated heads in the charred sky? The judgment day has arrived. And the predator drones began their day and night war. They closed the streets and holy places. They put nooses on news and talks. They removed love, compassion, and brotherhood words from the dictionaries. They were all smiles sitting in the anti-war chambers like minotaurs. They knew that all peace periods finally end in war graves. Walking on the edge of this war rager, humanity now shreds its parts piece by piece, hoping that at the end of this dark tunnel, under the tree of peace, the Savior appears and rescues all with his hands of mercy and love. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhina, Sarve Santu Niramaya, Sarve Bhadrani Pasyantu, Ma Kashit Dukkha Bhag Bhavet, Asato Ma Sadgamaya, Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya, Murchorma Amritam Gamaya. Om Shanti Shanti, let there be peace everywhere. Thank you again. This is my last poem. It is about war. Two armies that fight each other is like one large army that commits suicide. The face of terrorism. And they painted their faces dark with the death and dread. Danced frenziedly before the attack with cold breath spread. When mind is absolutely empty or utterly full with nothing, techniques of remote and jujitsu explode then in everything. When hellhounds break loose, paradises get paralyzed in panic. To coerce compliance, dogs of war employ means of catatonic. The fields of love and peace are replanted with fear and hatred. To reap skeletons, they plant skulls and feed them with blood red. In a paradise where rape is a taboo, women become victims of war. By using opponent's energy against him, terrorists reopen the scar. Every insult is added to the previous ones with a psychological content. Death becomes irrelevant and is praised as victory over the opponent. To subdue the enemy, one destroys the nature of his race. In War Valley, it is a repetitive act for war. Earth is a regular terrace. Two armies that fight each other is like one large army that commits suicide. Thank you.
थैंक यू सो मच सर। अब इस सत्र की अध्यक्षता कर रही श्रीमती सुकृता पॉल कुमार जी को मैं आमंत्रित करना चाहूँगी। आपके कई कविता संग्रह, अनुवाद और आलोचनात्मक पुस्तकें प्रकाशित हैं। वर्तमान में आप इंडियन लिटरेचर की अतिथि संपादक और रूटलेज यूके द्वारा प्रकाशित पुस्तकों की श्रृंखला राइटर इन कॉन्टेक्स्ट की सह संपादक हैं। साथ ही आपको 2023 के रविंद्रनाथ टैगोर साहित्य पुरस्कार से सम्मानित भी किया जा चुका है। बहुत बहुत स्वागत। तालियों के साथ में पुनः इनका अभिनंदन, स्वागतम आपका।
It's a matter of pleasure and gratitude that I have been invited to chair this session, which has so much passion. Not fashion, but passion. Normally, a lot of fashion goes into poetry also. But what I noticed was that there was this wonderful kind of unveiling the heart, as it were. That is what poetry is supposed to do. Raise the curtain over the heart, because all the time we are hiding our emotions. We don't want to share our feelings with other people generally, which is the sad thing. And what I really appreciate for, in the beginning when I was given this task of being the chair in a session which had north and south combination. And initially I wondered, what am I going to do? Am I in the north or am I in the south, and where am I? And I realized that this is the kind of session we should have actually more and more, because the north has to listen to the south and the south has to listen to the north, and everywhere then a coming together happens because there is a lot of sharing. So I don't know if it was planned like that, or we are the leftover ones for the last day, so north and south comes together. But I'm very happy that this happened, because always the leftover ones gain more, don't they? Because then we get the best of both the worlds. I want to say this, that I think we cannot take our multilingualism for granted. Let's not take it for granted. Let us pause and think that we are multilingual people, and you could see how, for instance, one of the poets, I'm not going to take the names, but one of the poets shifted so easily from one language to English, from his own language to English, and with the same temper, same passion, that it sounded like the original language. Even English sounded like the original South Indian language. I think it was Telugu, wasn't it? So Telugu, English became Telugu, and Telugu probably had imbibed some kind of a temper of English while writing, because English stays around. So does Malayalam on one side and Kannada on the other side. And I think there is always a borrowing from different languages, and that is what is multilinguality. That there is a very unconscious kind of a borrowing that takes place from one language to the other, particularly the neighboring languages. And then that multilinguality that we have is very precious. All these big powers which are coming to naught these days, the so-called American big power, superpower that there was, see how deflated it is. It has something to do with monolingualism. All of them in the West are monolingual people. And monolingualism does damage to the human. It definitely does damage. Probably that is why you can think only like in one direction, You're not listening to the other. So the atrocities happen, and we have to guard ourselves from that, because monolingualism teaches us not to look this side or that side, but just remain on that track. And we know that even good literature, I'm sorry to say that, but in today's context, look at America. Only good writing is happening by people who don't belong to that kind of monolingual psychology. And in America, good writing is not happening. And this is something new, and they are worried about it. Many departments of literature are worried about this, that I remember the Nobel laureate, Derek Walcott, was there when I was there in Iowa. And he had made a statement about this. He says, all you guys can do who know only English, all that you can do is to play with words. You just play with words and you craft. You're crafting your poetry. Your heart is not connected with what you are saying. And I remember all the white American, particularly white American people, who were sitting there, the poets, felt very let down, and not just let down, I think that made them very reflexive to think about their own selves. They tried to make for some time efforts to reach out to the other reality, other language people. So they tried to do that, but that multilinguality is again being questioned there. So I think we should be proud in the world that we have languages of this. You heard Malayalam, you heard Telugu, you heard, what was the third language? Tamil. Tamil. Now these languages, ultimately we say that they are South, but did they not also connect with the Assamese? There was a connection. Now, can we say that therefore there is no connection between the North and the South? And I'm in the middle because I belong to Delhi, right? So hopefully I'm getting sensibilities of different kinds from different languages, and hopefully, you know, I am not going to shut my, what should I say, my eyes or my heart or my ears to what is happening all over the country. As the editor of Indian literature, this is one lesson I have learned. When I'm getting translations from different parts of the country, it is such a pleasure, you know, because those translations are enriching English, our own English. They're also making English our own. How? Because a little bit of Malayalam gets in, little bit of Assamese gets in. All the languages are contributing to the translated language, I mean the language of translation, which is English. Similarly, it should happen even between, say, Malayalam and Telugu and maybe Tamil, or maybe Tamil and Assamese. But that bilingualism we don't have yet, because in our colleges and universities, only one language and mother tongue, and maybe somewhere 3-language formula would be there. But Indian bilingualism is getting weaker because we don't know more than 1 or 2 other languages of India, you know. So that is creating a lot of problem. We should have that interlinguality also to enrichen our cultural context and see where are our differences and where do we connect also. And how beautiful to have suddenly a poet who's supposed to be very serious and reflective burst into very serious song, you know, and see the rhythm of that song. And of course, it also means a lot of training that you must have had in singing, but you're breaking out into, you know, bringing a song together with the idea of the meaning of the poem. And even that tup, tup, chup, chup made a lot of sense. It made a lot of sense. One felt wet with the rain, you know. It was so beautiful. And I really appreciated Malayalam also, because I think every language here, whoever read that, it carried with itself the sounds of the original language, you know. So even if you don't understand it fully word for word, there is some sense that gets established through the sound itself. And our languages are very beautiful. So when the translation was read, it sounded very flat. The translation in some cases sounded flat in comparison to the original, you know. So I am going to also read a translation of my poetry in English, because what I imagine and think in my mind, I have to translate that into English when I'm writing. So my English is original and translation, both. So I think, let me read a few poems, and just 3 or 4, because till what time is our session? 11:30. So I have about 5 minutes more, and I will read my poems. And then we will also open the house, I think, to some kind of an interaction, if you like, so that you can ask questions or even comment. I think it would be a good opportunity to have here to even comment. So I'll just speak, I will read out some 2-3 poems of mine. So I was in Shimla for 3 years almost when I was a fellow at the Indian Institute. And you know, in the Indian Institute of Advanced Study, there are so many oaks all around. All around the building you have oak trees, big oak trees. So this poem came out of that. The Oaks of Summerhill. Ancient oaks, pregnant with untold tales, witnesses of unwritten history, twist and turn, spreading over mute mountains. Oaks and sages share their wisdom, turned or tuned to the orchestrated din of the invisible insects from the forest folds. Ancient oaks unravel their untold tales. I'm just randomly picking up poems. I'm not focused on what. Anyway, parting again. Sadness sits like a snake in my belly. Sadness sits like a snake in my belly, turning and twisting, giving me hysterics. It sits hissing subtle threats of yet another severance, emitting warnings through my glassy, half-closed eyes, forcing them open to stone stillness, snow silence, and a reptile alertness. Sadness travels down my spine, reaching my womb, your own home, where I held you tight, daughter, till you pushed your way into a world of self, identity, and more sadness. Thank you. One more. How to begin? I think many of us have that problem when you sit down to write a poem. How to begin the poem? There's something that is calling for attention, but what is the first line? The first line and the last line always creates a problem. Or sometimes it comes very smoothly, and sometimes you're just stuck on that point. How to begin? This way? That way? It has to surface on this paper from the wilderness of the forest and its stinging nettles, knotted bushes and twigs. It has to emerge on this vacancy from the black holes of the universe, seen and unseen, through meteor storms and somersaulting planets. The hand has to appear with the finger pointing this way, but also that way. Thank you. Thank you. That's it. The bell has rung? Okay. So I will get back into the chair just to chair the last 10 minutes in which we will have your comments. Please feel free to comment. Please take this opportunity to share whatever your feelings are about multilingual poetry in our country or about any specific stance. There was also a very political poem in anger about Netanyahu. So all of these things work in the mind of the poet, and we are privileged to have so many voices here. There you are. Hello, hello. Anyway, I think we can hear. All I want to say is that I think we should not leave this as a mono dialogue situation. It has to be a dialogue, right? All poetry comes out of many voices. So please feel free to talk and cook up something in the mind and say something. Did you enjoy the session? Yeah. Good session? Okay. But what is good about this? We only read our poems. What's good about it? Yeah, sure.
have almost translated around 100 epics, almost all the epics in the world. Like from Greece, Odyssey, epic cycle, and Iliad. From Spanish language, Mexican language. Because the intermediary language is there as English. And I could translate them into my mother tongue, Telugu. And from Sanskrit, like Bharata, Ramayana, Bhagavad Gita, Lalita Sahasranamam, and Saundarya Lahari, I have translated them into English. So it is not difficult. First, you have to transform yourself into that poet, not yourself. So then, automatically everything falls nicely. Second, a translator should be better than the original poet. So, and you must know the idioms, local slangs. And if you understand them nicely, it is a cakewalk. Otherwise, it is something like, that conquer walk. So it is, whether you want to conquer the language or conquer with small things, it is up to you. But translation, it is the bridge, it is a rainbow between two languages. Once you translate it, the slate is always a beautiful, that slate is filled with beautiful translated letters. And you will be one of the best among the others because you know many languages than the original poet. Thank you.
I think whenever we are going to translation matters, the crisis for a translator is to transform himself into another man's feeling. First, he need to, to accept the feelings of the poem. That acceptance is not the exact word. The spirit, he transformed the spirit into himself or herself. Then he transformed that spirit into his language. He translate. Translating the feelings, translating the spirit is the process of good translation, I think. Not the words, not the language. The poetry translation is the translation of feelings. That is the task before a translator, I think.
But I think every language has own identity in language. I have seen in Assamese a word which used in my poetry, not the prose. We take such type of word which not only emotionally but poetically is also in a high standard. But sometimes I have seen, I know translation is also a literature, and some extent it might be better than the original language. But I think every language has own beautifully all not only emotion but literary beauty also. I think translation should be, they have nicely said, emotion and other may come the translation poetry, but language which gives us beautifulness, which I shall call literary, it is nice. That in some time it should not be, I do not appear in the translation also. But I know some poets are there who are great poets, not only for his literature, but he knows the poetic emotion. Thank you.
I only concentrate musical notes in translation.
Yeah, so everybody has one's own take on what is translation. But mind you, it is not all that simple. I just heard that the whole idea of how translation can be a cakewalk. But it's tough. It's only cakewalk when you come to that point of that strong bilinguality, one. But at the same time, also the secondary point, which is very important, is that what you translate has to become another poem. If it is not a poem, and if you're just paraphrasing it in the translation, so to you, the substance, as you said, may have gone. But if the spirit of the poem is not there, then the poem in translation has to stand on its own legs. That is why it is read. It's not read because it is a translation, but it is read because it's a poem, right? So now the time is over, as I've been told, and we can't translate anymore. Thank you very much.
I can translate now. Okay, so it was wonderful session. Thank you so much. और इस सत्र का समापन करते हैं और एक अच्छी सी फ़ोटो ले लेते हैं ताकि एक खूबसूरत याद हम लोग साथ में लेकर जा सकें.